Welcome to kathysright.com, your pit stop for the conservative mind, heart, and soul. I'm Kathy. Today's special guest, voice actor Robert Broussard. Robert started a new career later in life when he discovered, well, others discovered as well, that he has a voice for it. He does voiceovers, voice acting, audio for books, television, commercials, and I'd like to hear more about it. Not only that, he's a Southern boy like I'm a Southern girl. So this should be a great conversation about America today. Welcome, Robert Broussard, voice actor. I want to hear more about it, Robert. Where are you from?
I'm from North Texas. I grew up in a little town called Henrietta, and I live in Wichita Falls now. But a couple of years ago, I was up working in the Arctic, and it was dark, and I seen a Facebook ad that said was talking about that, and I thought, I like to talk. So I thought that's interesting. So when I got home, I go and buy me a Blue Yeti, and I sit down and just start reading. And I started reading books out loud, because you got to really be able to read, without messing up, and working on that. That's actually a lot more difficult than it sounds. And just kept on. And then, next thing you know, I set me up a little makeshift thing to record. I lived in an apartment then. And so I made a little tent that killed all the extraneous sound and sound reflections. Did that, and then I got a little bit better microphone, and it just started upgrading. And I got on the internet, and I seen this people that do training for that in New York. So I called them and enrolled in that, and that took a lot longer due to COVID to get to the certain point in that. And they have a deal where you can practice and put it online, and people comment on it, and they try to somewhat help each other out, with their comments.
So what do you see as your strong suit in voice acting and voiceovers?
Maybe just a lower male voice. I don't know. I've had people tell me I have a decent voice, but I've never really thought about it, to be honest with you.
Well, I think you do.
So just be careful, keep on doing it, and eventually something will come in there. Every now and then somebody will contact me, and I'll sit down and whip out something for them, and they seem to be pleased.
I think I like the fact that you have a Texas accent.
Yeah, you can tell that.
I'm sure it'll pay off, because really, it's authentic. I'm sure you've seen, like I have, on some movies and film and things like that, where they have someone there who's obviously not from Texas, and they have a fake Texas accent. And I can immediately tell. I've been in Texas in my whole life, mostly born here, and so I can immediately tell the ones that are fake. And then there's some that are kind of genuine, but they'll accentuate it to sound even more Southern for film.
Oh yeah, that's easy to pick up on a movie or something, that when people do that.
Oh yeah, I can hear it. Especially the Creole accent too. Because I had a Creole accent almost every summer of my life. And then, you get it and you don't realize you have that accent because you're immersed in it. And then you come back and you still have a little bit of that Louisiana. And my mom will point out, you sound like Louisiana shit. She's from Louisiana. She loves where she's from. So it's very interesting to me, because I thought about doing voiceovers. Yeah, I've done some like ad space for a friend of mine for his show, and it's fun. I'm thinking I could do this,
You probably can. You have a decent voice, and you have the setup. You're ready to roll, pretty much.
Yeah. If anybody wants, I don't know. I'm very. I can do other accents though. The French accent. Oh yeah. When I was growing up, I used to pretend, because I was a big movie buff, and I would pretend I was, I'd go shopping with friends. In one store, I'd be an old German lady. In another store, I'd be a Swedish lady.
All right.
And I love all the languages, and I love all the sounds. To me, it's like musical notes.
Right. Now they say that they want people to sound just their normal voice, but to be honest with you, if somebody was just to do your one voice,
Hmm.
realistically, you probably wouldn't get a lot. So you probably have to juggle up several hats to really get a lot of work, I think, in this.
Yeah, and you'll have to vocalize.
Right.
I remember listening to Frank Sinatra talk about how he was trained to sing, and
Mhm.
one of the things that he said that was that his voice coach said that he was not to open his mouth like this when he sings
Mhm.
those words, but to keep it like this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so I've noticed when I do that too. Yeah, it does change the tone to the microphone
Hmm.
specifically.
I'll have to
Interesting.
work on that.
Well,
Yeah.
we all
Yeah.
want to sound like Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
So, what do you think is going on here, Robert? What's going on with the Rittenhouse? We're waiting for the verdict. It should come out today.
It should, from what I see, when I watched it, was it Monday that the prosecutor and they did the final defense, or was it Tuesday?
I think it was Tuesday.
Okay. Well, anyway, when the prosecutor he really changed up his story in a way, trying to make him look like a madman running through the streets, shooting people, which was wrong. But at first glance, though, if you didn't know any better, he did a pretty good job of putting that out there.
Oh, he used all the trigger words like
All the
active
tricks,
shooter, you
correct.
know, using those
Yeah.
kinds of words, things that will trigger in everybody's mind. He was playing to the
Mhm.
TV, I think,
Oh
more
yeah,
so than the
and
judge.
the first guy that he shot that grabbed his gun and told him he was going to kill him there, he sure downplayed that. He just acted like he just walked out and popped him and took off running. There was nothing for no reason.
Right.
And then as he goes on, but I actually missed the defense yesterday. How was that? Was that compelling?
Well, the defense, I thought he was compelling the whole time.
Right.
He shone a light on what the prosecution was actually doing,
Mm-hmm.
and I was really happy that he did that,
Mm-hmm.
because I really feel like they railroaded this young man just like they did the Covington kid.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
they say, "Oh, this is what you're seeing." They tell
Oh
us
yeah.
what we're seeing, which is not what we're actually seeing. That's what they did with the Covington kid, and that's exactly what's happened here.
Mm-hmm.
And like all of the things that they said about this child so far have been lies. Like, for instance, there's no evidence on his phone that he was any kind of a racist.
Yeah, I would honestly like to see a white supremacist. I've never met one. I don't know, and we live in the South. I've never met anybody, or I never met a KKK member. I've never met a white supremacist in my whole life. I don't know where all these people are hiding at. But
Yeah.
I want to be scared. I guess I want to stay away from them if they are, but I don't know where they're hiding at.
I don't either. I don't run into them. I heard rumors of someone joining a group like that. Like one of my husband's old high school friends who used to be a
Mm-hmm.
total hippie,
Uh-huh.
with the long hair and everything. And he got old and a little cray cray.
Yeah.
And last heard, nobody's ever heard from him again. All their friends haven't heard from him. They said that he joined a group like that. He's highly, being an old man now, because that's what he is. He
Yeah.
probably just lost his mind. I mean, to be
Yeah.
honest,
Yeah.
uh, you don't just go from like that in your old age. Usually you get more soft-hearted the
Right.
older you get. You don't get more hardened hearted.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
so
But
that
there's
was kind of,
probably, even if they're like the KKK, there's not even enough of those. If there's any around, that it even matters, in this day and time. So I don't see that as a threat to anybody, honestly.
I don't either. I think there's a lot of preconceptions and misconceptions about the South. I think that, for instance, I golf, and we have one house that we take a shortcut through to
Are
go
you
to a certain
are,
hole.
are you a good golfer?
On any given day, it depends on the
Yeah.
which hole. I go hole by hole. On some holes, I'm a great golfer, and some holes I'm in the woods. And so,
Okay.
So I wouldn't say great. I'm an amateur for sure, but I enjoy it.
Right.
But yeah, but we passed by this guy's house who I was nervous about going through his property because he had a Confederate flag.
Mhm.
Turns out, I would always take shortcuts through his property after a while because I'd been here for years. And then I met him. He's really nice and gives me iced tea and he's really
Mhm.
sweet. I'm like, one of the night now I'm in a club with him. We're in the same club. It's a dancing
Mhm.
club. you know,
Uh-huh.
our boots and blue bonnets. We do country western dancing.
Right.
Anyways, so yeah, I had preconceptions
Mhm.
and like I was, but I was wrong and I should have known better. I
Right.
should have known better. Most people in the South who do have those flags are just talking about Southern pride. They're not talking about uh, racism or anything like that. A lot of them,
Right.
I know old ladies who are sweet as can be. They love that flag because to them it represents being proud of being from the South.
Right.
And for
Yeah.
me, I'm proud of being from the South. So I'm not bothered by it at all. I just thought that one point because I didn't know him. I'm like, and here we're sneaking through his property, on
Right.
his property. I'm thinking he's going to get mad one day.
Yeah.
And yeah, but he never did. He's honestly a good guy.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think that's what most people are. I don't think most people have time to be the people that Yankees think we are. I don't think we have time for it. Uh,
No.
my husband is Caucasian, and
Mhm.
I don't think we ever discuss race unless we're making jokes about it usually.
Right. Uh-huh.
And he makes a lot of jokes about me. I make jokes about him because I'm Creole, and he's just regular, basic Caucasian. He likes really boring food, and I like really spicy food. And
Uh-huh.
so that's pretty much where we tease each other. He thinks
Uh-huh.
everything I make is too spicy, and his
So
mother, God
do you
rest her.
cook separately? Does he get in
Oh
there and
no,
cook for himself and you cook for yourself?
oh no, he can't cook really. He
Oh,
can
okay.
make breakfast.
Yeah.
That's about it: eggs and bacon and pancakes.
Yeah.
But no matter what I cook, he says it's too spicy. Even if I don't put spices in it, he just
Right.
says it's spicy. It's a little spicy. I'm like,
Yeah.
So sometimes though, if I'm cooking and he comes into the kitchen and says something that I think is rude, extra cayenne. Boy, what did you say? Just put more cayenne.
I used to know these two twin sisters, and when I was going to college, and one of them, when she would get angry at the other one, she would go in there and start baking cookies and stuff and fatten her up as revenge.
Well, yeah, we do. You love through your food, and you also
Yeah.
can hate through your food.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just sort of funny. We'll be right back after these messages. I hope those people don't do something stupid and riot. I mean, I'm so sick of riots,
Oh,
aren't
yeah.
you?
Oh, yeah. Did you see that there was a woman out there that there were several of them, one of them, and she said she's just going to go everywhere and riot everywhere she thinks there's injustice or whatever she thinks.
Sounds like she needs a job or a hobby.
Yeah, or kicking the rear.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
I find that repulsive because I mean, grown people doing it is even worse than the young people doing it. And I'm thinking there's a lot of, productivity that could be happening with all that energy. And I'm
Yeah.
just thinking, where do they have the time to do this or the money
Right.
to organize, stand out in the street all day long? I mean, somebody's footing the bill. I just have to say that right now they're saying that we have to take in all of these illegals because they say we really need them for the cheap labor to, pick the fruit and whatnot. And I'm thinking we got a lot of young people burning down buildings that have all sorts of energy. Let's
Yeah.
let them work it off.
Yeah,
And
some fruit picking will do them some good.
yeah, and make them pay those people back for what they're burning down is what I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Because there's no repercussion for them and they need some.
Yeah.
And we could kill
exactly.
two birds with one stone.
Yeah, put them to work.
Put them to work.
Get their minds off of foolishness.
I think so. I mean, I've lived on farms before in the summer in the South.
Mhm.
And, you know, it's not fun always to have to get up at the crack of dawn and do work
Right.
before you can have fun.
Yeah.
But it sure does build character, I believe, and responsibility. And it seems that that's something that those people in the streets protesting don't have.
No, they don't have any responsibility, but they go and tear up other people's property and they just walk away.
I wonder
You
if,
know,
if they're going to make arrest, or are they going to, in Kenosha, are they going to have the police stand down in case something like this happened? Have you heard anything?
I haven't heard anything. I've just seen the little snippets of these people making comments on sitting out waiting on the verdict. So we'll have to see what happens.
We'll see.
But the worst part about it is they're, coercing the juries and stuff, making them maybe afraid to make how they actually feel are a right decision.
Did you see the photo? I saw it on television, but also the photo of the prosecutor holding that gun,
Mm-hmm.
aiming it towards the jurors
Yeah.
with his finger on the
Yeah.
on the trigger.
Maybe he hadn't found out about Alec Baldwin yet, huh?
Maybe not.
That didn't work out so good.
Well, I mean, gun safety 101. 101. When I got my first BB gun, I learned you never put your finger on the trigger and aim it at somebody unless you mean to shoot it.
Yeah. I wonder what the jurors thought when that was pointing at them.
I think it was a tad of intimidation because they haven't been sequestered. They are seeing people take pictures of them coming and going from that courthouse.
Mm-hmm.
And so people are already planning on threatening them, or they have already threatened them. And so when you have the prosecutor aim a gun at you, whether I don't care how many times they say, oh, we checked it. He was one holding it. I didn't see him check it.
Right.
So
I just wrote that off to him just being a goofball, really, just instead of somebody that's real responsible. But I never thought about the jurors, him pointing at them, maybe trying to make them think
that people are watching them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's enough reason right there to throw this whole thing out of court. Just that one thing.
Yeah.
You just can't aim a gun at a jury.
Oh, yeah. Or anybody, really.
Or in a courtroom.
Yeah.
And in front of, you just don't. You get your little pellet gun. Remember your mom says, don't put anybody's eye out. I remember, yeah, don't aim it at your brother. I remember one summer, my parents were both working and we were home all day. And my brother and his friend,
mm-hmm.
they were going to have some sort of a duel with their BB guns. And they got a certain distance from each other and they were shooting each other in the belly with their BB guns. And so the BB guns, the BBs would stick into their skin, some of them, the ones that didn't fall off. And my mom, she's like a first aid lady at her job. She was like the nurse. And she came home and she's having to pick all these BBs out of these boys' bellies and then send them home and try to explain it to their mothers. And
oh no.
Yeah, but they thought they were being manly men. They were little bitty boys. They didn't know any better, but at least they didn't put anybody's eye out.
Yeah, well, we used to have BB gun fights when we were kids, but we didn't get up close like that. We kind of played army and hid and maybe get our leg or arm, peppered right quick and quit pretty soon after that.
Oh my gosh. You know what we did when they played with the girls, because we wanted to play too. We would make war with lawn chairs turned sideways. And that was like our barrier. And then we had like somebody's old water hose. We cut it up and we put China berries in there, and like they did on Tarzan. So we did like a jungle war, like Tarzan. It was so fun.
Those China berries hurt when they hit you?
Yeah, most of the kids can't really get it that far. I mean, it was all in fun. And, but the thing is, guns are something that's so a part of America that I think that they're really, dreaming when they think they're going to get rid of the Second Amendment, because it's just entrenched. I have when my children were in preschool, the preschool teacher, she was really an awesome teacher, Miss McClurg, and her husband was a police chief at the time. And so but she didn't want her children to have anything to do with guns. She was anti-gun. She's probably Democrat too, but she was anti-guns. And so she didn't let them watch TV with guns in it. She didn't let them buy toy guns. She didn't, she wouldn't allow it. No guns at all. Because her husband had to put his gun, when he came home from work, he had to put it in their trailer outside and lock it up so that they wouldn't see his gun. So she said, but Kathy, all the work I did to keep them away from guns, I still would catch them outside with a stick, shooting it at, looking, making it like a gun, pow, pow, pow,
Right.
because it was just intrinsic to little boys and what they wanted to do. So I don't think that Kyle Rittenhouse was out to kill anybody. I do think he honestly thought he was protecting somebody else's property because the grown men of that area didn't show up. And the police didn't show up because the mayor told them not to. Then the precinct was being burnt down. So what would you do? I mean, if your police precinct is getting burnt down and people are running around harming each other and harming each other's property, I would grab my gun.
I don't think that would be going on in certain parts of the country without the citizens standing up and at least trying to do something about it. I think
they'll try more now. There'll be more pushback now because when they did this last nonsense in the 2020 through all those riots, we were all shut down.
Yeah.
We were in our houses. And so they had the streets to roam.
Yeah. They didn't care about the virus at all, did they?
Oh, no, they were immune.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's pretty sad, isn't it?
Yeah. Bill de Blasio, I remember him going elbow to elbow in the streets, painting BLM on the streets. I can't stand that dude. I don't understand how New Yorkers, well, I can understand why they have the mayor that they have now. But de Blasio and Cuomo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I met this lady on the internet that was running for city council there. And she had a really good message. She didn't like CRT and the violence in the streets and stuff down in Manhattan, but she didn't win. So they seem to be liking it up there.
They're nuts. More of the same they're going to get then.
But like the guy, the BLM guy that got on television and basically threatened the mayor if they basically police like they should, they're going to have riots. And I can't believe that they let that go on. If somebody else was to go to say something like that, they would probably get arrested or definitely have some attention to them.
Oh, yeah. If you said something like that, you would get arrested, Robert.
Yeah.
I thought I'd take a moment to give you an idea of what Robert does in voice acting. I think he's pretty terrific.
I'm just a regular guy who wants the same things everybody else wants. Food, shelter, family, friends, and plenty of ice-cold Budweiser. Just not necessarily in that order.
And here's another example of Robert's work.
Got a craving for some Cajun? Well, Cher, I guarantee I know what to fix you up. And it's only at Popeyes. New Orleans-style fried chicken, Cajun battered fries, and buttermilk biscuits. Love that chicken at Popeyes.
Well, I think Robert's pretty good. Keep on listening to Kathy's Right after this message. And just like that, we're back.
Did you see he was on Dan Bongino Saturday?
Who?
The guy, the black guy for BLM. I can't remember
Oh,
what
I
his
didn't
name
see
was.
that.
Yeah, him and Dan had it out. And actually, he left the interview.
Robert, I'm curious. Now that everything's opening up here in Texas, I mean, we're pretty lucky. We get to pretty much do as we please. We get some side looks sometimes because I don't mask up anywhere unless I absolutely have to for whatever reason. I just don't see the point of them. In fact, I think it probably compromises your immune system, in my opinion.
I don't think they do any good because I wore one religiously and I caught COVID. So
yeah,
how I caught it, I don't know. Maybe I touched something and rubbed my eyes or whatever. But I will carry one in my pocket in case I go somewhere where somebody may ask you to put one on, I'll put it on. I won't make a fuss, but I don't wear one normally.
Yeah. I don't understand the argument that that I'm hearing from the leftists, that, and it's usually the leftists that are so into the mask, that if I don't wear a mask, I'm endangering them, even
Right,
though they've
exactly.
been vaccinated.
Well, what was Joe Biden's first thing he wanted to do in office? Wear a mask for 100 days, right?
Yeah.
It didn't do a darn bit of good.
No.
Didn't help at all. And so now I very rarely I still see people wearing masks, and if they want to wear them, that's their business. But I don't wear one.
I don't either.
You know, if someone felt uncomfortable that I wasn't wearing one, I keep one in my pocket. Like I said, I'll put the thing on for a little bit, but I'm not just going to wear one all the time.
I have one that I keep in my purse just in case, but it's a Trump one.
Oh, I've got one of those too.
It says Trump 2020.
Yeah.
So they're going to say, I insist that you wear a mask. Okay, then you're not going to muzzle me. So this is what I got to say to that.
Oh, last fall, before the election, I was in the Seattle airport, and I had the Trump one, and there was a young lady had hers on, and I had to put mine on, but nobody said anything. They're in Seattle. They didn't say a word. When I got on the plane, nobody bothered me or anything. I was expecting somebody to make some off comments, but nobody said a word.
I thought I was going to be able to take the mask off on the plane. I took a trip to Alaska, but it was so tight in there. And I'm thinking, because I could smell so much bodily odor. I'm thinking people were so busy washing their hands, they forgot to shower. So I just decided to, I put 2 masks on because it smelled so bad.
You did the Dr. Fauci.
And I hate masks, but it was just so bad. I'm thinking, and then like the lady in front of me, her baby took a poop, and then she had to change the diaper. And then there was this like huge person who was sitting like on the seat behind me, and they were sweating. I'm thinking, but it's cool. Why are they sweating? It was terrible. Traveling is not like it used to be. It used to be nice. It used to be classy. Now it's like going to a roller derby or something.
Oh yeah, I've been to places, you know, in the Middle East that were, you know, people will come on there with a microwave or a giant knapsack. And one time I left Dubai and was going to go to Yemen, and a guy had a chicken. And another guy had like a giant, like a leg of lamb, you know, wrapped up and carried it back to Yemen from Dubai.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I wonder if there's a shortage of food over there. I mean, if we're having shortages, they got to be having shortages in other countries. A friend of mine was telling me that there's some people in Africa that are starving again, that they had it licked, and that they had supplies coming in, and that when we stopped getting supplies, they too stopped getting supplies. And so people are actually dying from this supply chain problem.
Yeah, I haven't heard, but I did hear today about Austria having a total lockdown for the unvaccinated.
Oh, so I've heard that too.
You could only go to work, and if they caught you outside of that circumstance, you get like a €1,500 fine.
Wow,
Isn't that crazy?
That's terrible.
Yeah.
So they're making the unvaccinated undesirable. So what if you have a natural immunity, which I'm pretty sure I have, because like I said, I've been maskless most of this time, and I have, right before the shutdown, I got deathly ill. I was so sick. I went to urgent care. I thought I was having a heart attack. I couldn't breathe. It was just not the regular flu.
Right.
And so I was in bed for almost 3 weeks, 2 weeks for sure. And the third week, I think I said, oh, I'm not 100%, but I'm feeling better. And that was unlike any flu I've ever had. And as soon as I was feeling better, that's when they shut everything down.
Yeah, I got sick about at the same time. I'm not sure, but I did have, nausea that they said went along with it. And that's what made me think about it. But in this January, when I caught the virus, it didn't affect me that much. It was just like a little nasty head cold. But other than that, it didn't disabilitate me or anything.
I really think that that's what we should be learning more about, is how to build our immune systems and how to live healthy lives. I think That's another reason I'm against the CRT. Not only is it ridiculous, but the fact that there's other things that are profitable for people to learn in high school, especially to give them some skills, to give them some life skills. But they're lying to us and they're saying, oh, we're not teaching CRT at our schools. And then you look at their curriculum and they just give it different names. And then they say, but don't you want to know about the truth about slavery? I'm like, that's all we ever learned in school was about slavery. That's all I knew about Black history was slavery. Everything was about slavery for years and years, every year like clockwork. And don't forget about the slavery. So they're not teaching something new. They're just trying to make one class of people feel bad about themselves and other class of people feel oppressed. And so everybody's feeling terrible because they're trying to make them feel like they're born that way. Nobody's born to be a racist. I saw one of the proponents of this CRT on the television. I'd seen her on videos before. And she was on, I think it was CNN just the other night. Her hair is shorter now, or maybe she was wearing a wig before, but it was the same woman who was teaching the class of CRT. And she was making it sound like they're just simply teaching something as though none of the teachers ever taught about slavery. I used to think, isn't there something else they could teach us besides slavery?
Yeah, that's true. That's a point I never really thought about when I was in school. All I remember is that they taught about famous Black people. It was Harriet Tubman and who was the other guy that, George Carver Washington, but he was later, right?
Right.
But Frederick Douglass.
Yeah, they don't talk much about him anymore, or Booker T. Washington, because they both were Republicans, and they both were believed in individual freedom and people making it on their own and not depending on government handouts or government incentive or government. I don't want the government in anything personally. I just think that you give it to the government, they're going to screw it up. They're going to mess it up. My father and mother avoided anything that had to do with government their whole lives because they knew it was bad for people. They knew it was wrong. And they were they would literally come to neighborhoods, Black neighborhoods, trying to get you to be on government assistance. We got this program, we've got that program. And they were trying to encourage it. And my father, of course, no. He would work 4 jobs before he would take anything from anybody.
Right.
And so, that's
Ronald Reagan saying the scariest thing is somebody saying, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
That's exactly the truth. Yeah. And I agree 100%. Because once they get into your life, you're asking a third party to be a part of your life. And you don't want that. I mean, besides the parents, no. You just, once you do that, then you lose control. That's like CPS coming to your house. When you let the government give you something, then you owe them something. Everything has strings.
Yeah. Speaking of that, about 2 weeks ago, remember Biden was on television and they asked him about paying the illegals coming over that got separated. And he got mad. I believe it was Peter Doocy that asked the question, but he got mad. He was pointing his fist. And then he was saying, well, these people lost their kids and this and that. How many Americans lose their kids from CPS and get separated from their kids? And they don't deserve anything, but that wasn't even a good answer to give Peter Doocy, and especially him losing his control as he's kind of hot-headed.
Quite typically, if you commit a crime in this country, you go to jail and therefore you are separated from your children. So it stands to reason that if you come across the border illegally, you've already committed a crime. So I think it's to be expected. And I happen to, I'm not going to name names because she asked me not to, but a friend of mine, she worked for ICE and she was telling me that, Kathy, they had been doing DNA on these children. And 9 times out of 10, they did not belong to the people that brought them over and were claiming to be their parents. So now they're not even doing DNA.
No, they don't even have a clue of people. They're just letting numbers in. And when they think they've got enough to fill their objective, then they'll back off of it.
Yeah, but that's why they had so many of those kids, because they didn't belong to the parents that claimed, and that they were trafficked. So that's something that has to come to an end. That if we don't do it, I don't understand how Biden can just not see that. Remember when Trump was in office, they were finding hundreds and hundreds, like 300 kids here, and they found 300 kids there. And it was so wonderful because they were pulled out of trafficking.
Yeah.
We haven't heard of that.
No, it's all stopped. But I mean, there's people coming from all over the world, and they're coming through, and they're just letting them through. So they have a objective of how many people they need to bring in. In the debates last year, remember Biden turned around and he says that we can take up to 2 million immigrants.
Oh,
He said that, just plain out said that.
I remember him saying, you should come.
I would, in fact, make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are. We're a nation that says if you want to flee and you're fleeing oppression, you should come.
I remember that. I think I might play that because he did. It was an open invitation. And when you talk to the immigrants, I didn't personally go to the border, but friends of mine have. And I watched interviews and they said, why did you come now? You know, they'll ask them in Spanish, why did you come now? And they said, because Biden asked us to. He told us to. That is why they're doing it.
Somebody there's an agenda behind him though, doing it. And these people are coming in, and now we got all these people after COVID, and maybe they're not making enough money. Maybe they don't like their job. We got people I don't want to do that anymore. And they're quitting. Who's going to fill all these lower income jobs? And all these people supporting all this stuff, bringing in all this immigration to take those unskilled labor really hurts them the worst.
Yes.
Because it keeps their wages down. And I don't see an end to it. I
don't see an end to it either. I think their end game, I think it's a global thing because I watched a documentary just recently of they're having the same problems in France and United Kingdom with illegals, and they're going from place to place. And so, you know, some countries are putting barriers, walls, and some countries are not. I know that in Africa, my friend Munyumba Matwale, he was saying, Kathy, and in my country, we have 5 walls in Africa, in his continent. Yeah. He said, he doesn't understand the problem with the wall. It makes common sense.
Right.
Keep on listening to Kathy's Right after this message. And just like that, we're back.
Well, why is it immoral for us to build one down on our border when we give money to Jordan to build a border wall over there? American taxpayer money was supposedly given to Jordan to build a wall. You know, why is it any different for us to do it or pay some other country to help them build one?
I think America's just curious. I don't think we're fearful anymore, but I think we're just curious whether these fools will riot and act like fools again.
Right.
And to what end? Because I don't see anything that got better from the riots of last year. So I don't think that anything would be accomplished by rioting this year, except for more damage to people's property and the soul of America. And the soul of America is what's in trouble. When Biden was saying that he was fighting for the soul of America, I'm thinking on whose behalf, Biden?
Correct. Well, it's only going to go so far. There'll be a point where people say enough's enough, whether the cops get in it or not, and they will start pushing back, you know, especially somebody's getting their house burned down or their business, and then its sparks will fly. And I don't think that the people doing the rioting has the stomach to take the retaliation when it does go down, when people just say enough is enough, and it's probably going to be pretty bad.
Yeah.
You know, I hate that it gets to that point, but that may be the only time to get rid of it.
I think they would be hesitant, though, to do that here in Texas because now everybody has the right to carry.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you know, somebody, say a whole town like this or a neighborhood or whatever, where these people come in and trash it out, eventually people are going to, you know, they're going to have enough. And when they do, it's going to be rough on the rioters. And the rest of them are going to say, oh, I'm not doing that, you know. So it may get down to that. It may have to go to that because the police, military, or whatever are not doing what they're supposed to be doing to stop.
Well, I pity the fool who tries that here in Texas because that would not work. I think shame on Kamala Harris, because I remember during the last season of rioting, she was encouraging her people who worked for her in her office to support and pay money to get these rioters out. No questions asked.
Bailing them out.
And now, yeah, bailing them out. And so now she's the vice president. That makes no sense. In what world does that happen?
Right. And another thing about her is during the debates last year, or when they were running for office, she was saying she wouldn't take the vaccine because it was a Donald Trump vaccine. Had nothing to do with Donald Trump, but he did push it to get it done. How effective it's really working out to be, it's still out to the, to tell. And Biden did the same thing. So how can they expect even Democrats too, when they're scaring them about this vaccine, to jump in there and start taking it? I've taken it. I've taken about every vaccine you could think of over the years, but some people don't. And there are people that it affects. There's a lady that I chat with from Germany, and she told me a friend of hers took it, and she said that the friend had a mini stroke after taking the vaccine, and she can't talk right.
Right.
So
Eric Clapton had a bad reaction too. Before a concert, he had the jab, and he said his hands burned, his arms burned, his fingers burned. He played through the whole concert burning, and he said it wouldn't go away. He kept thinking that if I moved it and got circulation, and it just wouldn't go away. There's a lot of those things, and people aren't allowed to talk about them. When they talk about them, that gets erased on the media. Erased. We're not supposed to know the side effects of this vaccine, and I think the side effects are horrendous, the ones that I've heard about. So I think just like when we watch the antacid commercial and they say all the side effects, and you're going to do this, and you might have impotism, you might do this, you might not be able to go to the bathroom. They say all of those things for a commercial, for an antacid, but for this, they don't want you to hear about the side effects.
No, it's strange, really.
It's very strange, and I'm not trusting the messengers, the same people who have lied to me for the last 2 years, longer than that. Mainly the mainstream media. Now they expect us to believe them when they say everybody has to have the jab or you can't go to work. Right. If the jab worked, then they shouldn't be afraid of anything.
Yeah, but do you remember when you were a kid in the 70s and the 80s, and Walter Cronkite, he was on until the mid 80s or early 80s?
Yeah.
You believe what that guy told you, or even Dan Rather and all these people? I wonder now, what were they telling us?
I wondered.
It was true,
And they were more objective. And what's considered journalism now is really what they used to call yellow journalism. It's a shame, but it used to be. I took journalism for a while. I thought I was going to be a journalist, but I found that objectivity was lacking. I worked at a news station for a while, and even then, their selection of stories to tell, because all sorts of stories came to the newsroom, and they pick and choose which ones to tell. Some things they didn't think were suitable for all audiences, and that was their right to do that. However, that parentalism, that way of thinking, oh, we know what's best for the people, has now become more of a parental propaganda. We're going to tell you what you need to think and do, and you better listen to us or else.
Yeah, but did they tell you, well, here's a story, don't say that, say this? Yes. They were doing it back then.
Oh yeah.
So we didn't really think about it as much,
Yeah, when they would write it, because they wrote their own material back then. Now I think they get a memo, but back then they wrote their own. And I remember many stories that were just somewhat gory. The details were really gory, so they'd have to clean it up for the audience. And they really genuinely thought they were doing what was best for the audience, but that has morphed into something different. That has morphed into something dangerous. And I think that now everybody has to double check every piece of information they get because you can't trust them anymore. And now they come right out and say, that they are Democrats when really they're kind of communist.
Yeah. Do you think it has to do with the consolidation of that whole industry where all these corporations, very few corporations own all of it? They own the whole message. And, you may have a conglomerate that, has all these other businesses. So they definitely want to tailor the news to suit their agenda.
Absolutely. They do. And they do. And people know. I remember one time I was watching on Faulkner, I think Faulkner show on Fox, and Newt Gingrich was on there. And he said something about George Soros. And at that moment, there was dead air, which you just don't do on television or radio. There was just dead air and nobody said anything. And then Faulkner said, well, I don't think we should have to bring George Soros into this. Well, and then so Newt Gingrich said, oh, is this foreboding? And they just were all nervous. Why were they so nervous at Fox about saying George Soros's name?
Well, one of them, her husband worked for one of those companies. I think I recall somebody saying,
"Oh,"
and she was like, "Ooh,"
Oh.
So there was some kind of relationship there that could have gone bad for maybe her or somebody else in the studio or something working there.
Yeah, that's one old man that he will never. He's too mean and evil, I think, to ever die. Because every time somebody nice, like my mom, when somebody nice dies, I'm thinking, how is that all these evil people are still, alive and kicking?
Yeah.
But the good people die. That bothers me.
Yeah. And he was a Nazi sympathizer or part of supplying the Nazis back when he was young.
Yes. He turned in his own people. Yeah. He was Jewish and he turned in his own people to the Nazis.
Yeah. He seems to have some kind of hatred for this country. I don't understand what's going on with him, but it's not good.
Yeah, I like him. You ever watch Steve Racer when you were a kid?
I don't think so.
Or any of those cartoons. I remember most of them had something in common, and that was like when Speed Racer would be racing, his car could go under the ground and over. It was just amazing what he could do. But the plot and many of the cartoons when I was growing up was there'd be some weird old man with pointy ears and pointy fingernails. And he would be sitting there going, with this plan, I can control the world. And now we have George Soros. Yeah. So that's a final note for Cathy'sRight.com today. But let's pray hard because we're going to need to. And let's pray that these people will not lose their minds.
Thank you for watching and listening to Cathy'sRight.com. Make sure you subscribe today. God bless you and God bless America.